Hello and welcome to the Physiology of Endurance Running podcast. I'm Owain, joined as always by Dan. We've got 3 weeks to go to Valencia Marathon now. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good. 3 weeks to go. It's pretty scary, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
3 weeks to go, hopefully to a marathon. Still don't know if it's going to happen or not. But yeah, I've heard there's going to make an announcement this week or early this week. So
yeah,
yeah. And speaking to I would give it 50-50 odds. Not super confident, not super. I don't know.
we'll
We'll
see.
find out anyway.
Yeah,
I'm just taking the attitude of got to train for it, so just keep going as if I normally would.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, good week.
And as always, we're sponsored by SOAR. SOAR are keeping the lights on for us for the next few weeks still. We've both been wearing SOAR gear. Dan was in full SOAR gear again in one of his sessions that we're going to go through. We're still kicking the can down the road. We're seeing how many gels we can fit in a pair of these shorts, but I think
Yeah,
it's
well,
quite a lot.
always giving me excuses before we start recording. But this week we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
You can in the split shorts, I've got up to 6, and that's been absolutely fine. I reckon you could push that. I reckon you could
yeah,
sneak a few extra ones into like the back pockets, and it would be all right. But like 40-gram gels is 200 grams of carbohydrates or 800 calories, and like that's if you take all of them, you're pushing the limits, I think.
yeah, and you can
So
carry a couple more, can't you? So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, as always, yeah, brought to you by SOAR. And yeah, check out their gear. It's really good stuff. Onto the week. So 4th of November, this would have been your first run back from your smaller illness that you had the week
Smaller
before.
illness. Yeah.
Smaller illness.
Yeah. It's a little cold. Yeah. I was moaning a bit, wasn't I, last week?
Could
But
call it man flu.
man flu, it was man
Yeah.
flu. It was man flu because Jemima and I were not too bad. They were fine. It was just man flu. Marathon man flu. Um, yeah. So anyway, I'd felt back to I'd felt like 100% normal on the Sunday. Monday, just back to normal routine. 10 miles in the morning, 16k in the morning, or 16 a k. Yeah, feeling fine. Buggy run in the afternoon with Nye, 10k, pretty slow, 4:46 a k, but he's heavy now. Right, he's heavy. He's definitely noticeable weight in the buggy. But we've got into a bit of a routine of going out on well, I have him on a Monday. We doesn't go to the nursery, so I have him, and we've got into a nice routine of going out on Monday evenings in the buggy in the dark, and he quite likes it. He keeps telling me to turn the torch off, make it dark, he says, which is fine, but there's a canal on one side, so you don't want to fall in. And there's a big sheer drop on the other, so like it's only so long I can turn the torch off. But anyway, yeah, puts a different spin on it, mixes the runs up. I quite like going out with him. It's you're quite grateful then, because if he gets moody, are you quite grateful? I feel quite grateful for all the run, because if he gets moody, you got to turn around, and normally he doesn't. Normally quite likes it these days. But yeah, he just like he's still happy. That's great. We could do another mile. So yeah, 10k. Yeah, so it's my standard Monday. 10k in the evening. Gets us to Tuesday. So yeah, standard. Got up early. Got to Cardiff Met. Did my session.
This
So
will be big, won't it? If we wanted to like clickbait people, we'd just chuck this at the end and make everyone listen to the entire episode before we got to this.
drive everyone insane. Yeah. So this was a combination of doing a bit of shoe testing, and trying to get in a massive session as well, on like, a pretty big session. So I had those new shoes, the On shoes that I got from Philly when I paced for 2:25. So she was very kindly, after giving me after pacing around the 2:25 marathon, she sent me over a pair of the On Cloud Boom Strikes. I had to look up the name and write it down, so I can never remember the On names. They all sound the same. But anyway, like I tested them out for the first time a week before. Just for a session where I hadn't really done the session, because I hadn't been well, but they felt pretty good then. So excited to get them in my lab, and thought, right, yeah, let's get them in my lab, test them properly. So I did 12 by 6 minutes at 19.1k an hour on our lab treadmill. So that's 3:08 a k, 5:03 a mile. Or I'm stuck on that just because that's 2:12:30 pace, and also like an intensity that was going to be challenging, but you know, it'd be a threshold intensity. I was hoping I could get 12 reps of that done. But then I started off in the Adidas, and because the first one, I just sort of discount it in terms of having the gas data. So I guess I should take one step back and say, right, so I'm doing it on a treadmill. I've hooked myself up to a metabolic cart that we have in the lab. So that's measuring my oxygen consumption and how much CO2 I'm producing. And from that, we can work out my economy. And obviously, I'm comparing my economy with 3 different shoes, which were the Cloud Boom Strikes, the Asics Metaspeed Paris Edges, and then the Adios Pro 3s. Which I've done. I've had the Asics and the Adidas ones on the treadmill before and looked for economy in them. But yeah, did 12 by 6 minutes. I had the gas data on for the first 10 reps. So I basically did the first one in the Adidas, but I discounted that one because the first one from experience is always you're not warmed up properly, even if you've done a good warm up. And I did do a pretty good warm up. Things aren't reaching a stable state and a steady state. So I wanted to did that one as like a warm up. So I did Adidas, and then when what did I do? Doesn't really matter. But then I alternated basically the first one in the Adidas, then I alternated between the Adidas, it was the Adidas, the Asics, and then the Om shoes, and then just went through about 3 times to get 3 trials in each shoe. So basically means wearing a mask for quite a long time, which if you've worn one, you get used to it, they're fine, but it's a bit warm on your face. I've worn it so much, it's not that much of an issue, but you can't drink. So when you've got it on, so I was pretty dehydrated by the end, but I was all right. And anyway, for once I got 3 trials in each, plus the bonus one at the start. So that was 10 times 6 minutes. I took the mask off for the last 2 and just ran that in the Asics for the last 2 to get up to 12 by 6 minutes. So I guess that's the protocol. Lactate were nice and stable. 2 and up. They were. I think I did. You took a couple of lactates for me, didn't you? I think that was 2.8 and a 2.5, and then I took one at the end, and it was like 2.2. So if anything was drifting downwards, so which you probably would expect over the course of a long, stable bout. But yeah, anyway, so the threshold session. Gets me exciting bits with gas data. So should I jump to that? Do you reckon?
Yeah, let's.
I mean,
that's what people want to hear, right?
That's what people want to hear. Like, which one should you buy? So I guess the caveat before we get to that is the Pro 3s have been relegated to my training shoe. And I did run Valencia in them last year in 2:15. I was still racing in them until the summer. But they've done quite a lot of miles. They were still my race. I only relegated them to my training shoe about a month or so ago, maybe a couple of months ago. So they haven't done but they have done quite a few miles. But it still feel good. I'm aware on them, it's not too bad. So what I was really hoping is that they would come out awful, and then my Asics or the On shoes would come out amazing in comparison, because then I'd be going, all right, all those good sessions I've done in the Adidas ones, they were going to come out. When I put on the new super shoes, they're going to be I'm going to be so much faster. That's what I was hoping going into it. I was thinking, I hope these Adidases come out crap, and now I'm going to absolutely fly when I put on my Asics or the On shoes. But didn't quite work like that. They were actually all really close. So the Pro 3s came in at 65.7 mil per kilogram per minute. And then the Cloud Boom Strikes and the Asics Metaspeed Paris Edges both came out exactly 65.1 mil per kilogram per minute. So that probably doesn't mean that much to you guys, but when you work out the speed difference, like what would that gas if you worked out the economy in mil per kilogram per kilometer, fixed the oxygen consumption and worked out what the speed difference is, it's basically the Ons and the Asics were 2 seconds a K faster than the Adios Pro 3s. So that is a difference, over a marathon. That's that's nearly a minute and a half. So that's definitely a noticeable difference. But it's not that big a difference. I thought it might be a little bit more. And it was also really interesting that the Ons and the Asics came out identical. They felt quite different, I'd say. But yeah, I'm confident in the data. I think it was like 3 trials of 6 minutes each. If you go on my my Twitter, my X account, I've posted the like a whisker plot of the data, so you can see like the range and the mean, and the spread of the data is like identical. So it looks like quite a nice clean data set. There's no like massive anomalies in there. And yeah, identical. So both really good shoes. And then it's like, well, what one do I choose for race day? Ons or the Asics?
I think you have to go most comfy, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. On the treadmill, I think the Asics felt more comfy, but I don't know if that's just because I've worn them more. I'm more used to them.
Yeah.
Because when on the treadmill, the Ons felt like really soft, like a bit too soft. But I didn't notice that when I was running on the roads with them, so it might be like a treadmill thing. It's hard to say because I literally did 2 by K. But yeah, it's nice. But I've got, I guess the positive side is I've got 2 shoes that are I can race in and be confident that they're gonna, they're really good. The economy's great. And yeah, once one out, I can wear the other, I guess. But yeah. I was sort of hoping they'd come out even better than the Pro 3s, but yeah, back in August I did a similar one, similar comparison. I basically did exactly the same with the Pro 3s and the Asics, but I had the other version of the Ons. Do you know what they're called? The 5K type racing ones?
They're Cloud Boom Echo or Strike.
Yeah, that's it. Cloud Boom Echo. Are they 3s as well? I don't know. Like I said, I get confused with the name. But anyway, I did exactly the same, and the difference between the Asics and the Pro 3 were again like identical. Like they were the Asics were what's this? So 0.6 of a mil per kilogram per minute lower than the Pro 3s, so about 2 seconds a K. So that gave me it's confident to know that yeah, our metabolic cart is being consistent. And even just like I'm amazed it's so close, but it's so consistent because you think day-to-day variation and all these things, and I think the protocol I used, I think it's a pretty robust one. I've seen other people just doing like one trial in each shoe or a couple of trials at each shoe, but and like not that long a stage. But yeah, 6 minutes, like 3 times in each is pretty robust. So I'm confident.
We'd normally count on like sort of 3-4% like biological difference, right? So like
yeah,
getting almost bang on is nice to the point where you almost like, is that actually just like, if you did it a third time, would you have some really rogue results? But
yeah, but no. So I'm definitely I'm very confident that that the Asics is better than the Pro 3s. So I mean it's nice. I got 2 shoes to choose from. Probably gonna go with the Asics. Sorry, Philly Bowden. But I will probably do a few more. Maybe I'll do another session of me on and make it cool. But I have just, I ran my half marathon PB in the Asics. I ran my 5K PB in the Asics. So they're tried and tested. And still not have that much wear. I've only literally used them for racing plus a little bit of stuff on the treadmill. And the treadmill, but you don't wear out your shoes on the treadmill compared to like running on asphalt. It's they're pretty good. So actually that was a good morning in terms of making decisions around shoes, or not making decisions around shoes, I guess. But also I was really happy with the session, like 12 by 6 minutes. That's the biggest threshold session I've ever done, pushing it out to an hour and 6 of, oh no, what is it, 72 minutes, isn't it? 72 minutes of threshold work. I worked out I would have covered about 23K, I think. Because it would have been, it was nearly 23K. So yeah, because it was it was basically a half marathon in 66 minutes plus another 6 minutes of running. So yeah, it was just shy of 23k, and it's just that I look at my heart rate zones for that. Let me drag it up now. I was very disciplined. I had an hour and 3 minutes in zone 3, or between lactate threshold, lactate turn point, or LT1 and LT2. No time in zone 4, which I think is nice about the treadmill. You can get so much control.
Yeah.
But it also says setting off an intensity that isn't like super close to threshold. If you just drop it down a little bit, you can do so much work at intensity.
Yeah, and your heart rate will just gradually rise a little bit over the course of the session, won't it, as well, which is kind of nice. It kind of ups the intensity of the session, sort of just through fatigue and through the length of the session.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was manageable. I was obviously wanted to stop at the end, but if I had to, I could have kept going. Like, my heart rate got up to 169, my threshold's 170, but a lot of that was I weighed myself before and after, and I lost 2 kilos because I couldn't drink, and I was sweating a lot despite having lots of fans on me. I think my ventilation was as good as it could be, but it's just even if I'd been outside, I'd have lost quite a bit of liquid doing that and just not being able to drink. So I think a lot of that drift, which wasn't actually that much drift really. I think after the first rep I was up to like 160 heart rate, and I got up to 169 at the end. So it wasn't, and most of the reps I was like in my 162, 163, 164s. It wasn't like it was getting out of control crazily, which is what you'd expect with those sort of lactate levels. So yeah, I think it was a nice test, and obviously the shoe data, but also just really pushing the threshold sessions and seeing how much work you can do, and not be in a hole. Obviously I was tired afterwards, but yeah, it wasn't that hard. Like, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. So that was nice, and yeah, good chunk of work at the dream marathon pace. So that was great. Nice. So we've got to Tuesday morning so far. Check. Are there any comments on that? There's a few comments on my Strava. Let's see if there's anything.
Mostly asking about the shoes.
Yeah, they all are. Everyone was crying out for the data, weren't they? Oh, that's the one thing. I've had I've had so many messages saying, "Why haven't you tested the Alpha Fly V3s?" I was like, "Well, I don't own a pair of the Alpha Fly V3s. If someone wants to send me a pair, I'll test them out." But I haven't heard amazing things about them, and I've been very lucky in that I've been given a few super shoes over the last couple of years, and that I don't want to go and spend. I bought the Asics, but the Pro 3s I got given for being in the Welsh team at the podium sports shoes podium 5k race, and then got given the on shoots from Philly. I got given a pair of the Hoka Rock X2s when I tested a Hoka rep before we were charging for our sport physiology hub, so he kindly gave me a pair of them, because I tested them for free. And then I had another pair of the on shoes from at Bristol Track Club 5k. So I don't want to go and spend a load of money on Alpha Flies when I've got some shoes that I know are really good, and people tell me who have worn the other versions but they don't like them so much. So if someone wants to give me a pair or pay for me to buy a pair, I'll come and test them for you. Or you can come to the Sport Physiology Hub and test them yourself. Well, how much should we charge? I think it's like £75 for a shoe comparison. So come with your super shoes, 75 quid. We'll do I bet something very similar to what I did, and we'll find out which one you're fastest in.
You're not going to make him do 12 reps, but
no, we don't do 12 reps. We do we do 2 efforts in each 2 or 3 efforts in each shoe, depending how many shoes you bring. Bring 3 shoes, we do 2 efforts in each. I found that's pretty robust, and I think I've shown that do it 3 times maybe is an overkill, because reliability is really good. But yeah, that's a little plug for the Sports Physiology Hub if you want to come and do that. Come test out your shoes. But yeah, I haven't got the Alpha Flies, don't intend to buy the Alpha Flies. I like the first version. I ran 215. My first 215 was in those shoes, and they were good, but I've heard they've gone downhill. So yeah. It's Tuesday morning done. Then evening went out for 10k, 4:33 a k. Ended up being quite a big day, I think, in terms of mileage. Let's have a look. I've got it in time here. 2 hours 45 minutes of running, so that's quite a big day in there. Yeah, so that was Tuesday. Wednesday, let's find it. Here we go. So that's for SIG. Did 16k in the morning. I worked from home that day, so I ran 9 to nursery because it's like 2.5 miles away. So ran into nursery and back with the buggy, and then tagged on another 5 miles. So I got to me to 16k, 10 miles, and then in the evening went to pick him up again. So just ran into nursery with the buggy, picked him up, ran home again. 8k, 5 miles. Pretty slow, but running with a buggy. So that's 450k's up a massive hill, and that's where you really notice it. Like, that's when you notice the weight. It's a massive hill, like, which you've got to go up. And we are, let's find it. I've got the splits here. So I ran a 6-minute K going up this hill. And the hill isn't a K long. Like, the hill is probably about 300 meters long or something, but that's enough. I'm barely walking up it. But yeah, so that was Wednesday. No gym. That's the first gym week I've done no gym, which was I sort of needed to work from home. I had to record a few lectures, and I share an office, and that just wasn't going to work very well. And I could have done some home stuff, but I was busy, and at this point I'm not too fussed. I it would have been great to get it in, but I'd like on my way, and I'm making a bit of excuses. I could have done something from home, but I just had loads of work to do, so didn't happen. But never mind. So Wednesday, Thursday, 16k, 10 miles at the morning at 6 a.m. Feeling a bit tired that morning. 427 a k, and then that's all I did that day. I was going to do 10k in the evening, as my classic, 16 and 10, or 10 miles, 6 mile, but couldn't get my treadmill to work. Put Naya to bed at 7:30. Couldn't get my treadmill to work. Jemima didn't get home until 8:30, and then I was not going to go out at 8:30. I had a big session planned for Friday morning, and I just knew that that's just going to not add anything, just leave me for fatigued, not be able to refuel properly afterwards. So I thought, whatever, cut my losses. We'll just do 10 miles that day. Probably good in terms of, like, getting the fueling in, and in the day before a big session. That's what I tell my athletes I'm coaching. Like, if you've got a big session, get on the carbs the day before. And if you're it's certainly easy to do if you're not double daying as well. So yeah, 16 miles, about 16k, 10 miles that morning. Then Friday, got up nice and early, switched my Garmin back to miles. I've been running it in Ks for the last couple of months because Ks just make more sense, don't they? I know you're
so
a
much
Ks
more
guy, aren't
sense.
you?
Yeah, so much more sense.
Actually,
you need like people on miles, like this might cut our viewership in half, but like come out of the dark ages and come to kilometers.
Yeah.
Like,
So
they're around 1,000. Like, it's so simple. Life's so easy.
So I'll tell you why I do like miles. I just think, if you're doing mile reps, like 5 minutes, that's a good chunk of time. And in a marathon, I still haven't decided if I'm watching Ks or miles, because probably Ks, but I think, dividing a marathon up into 26 chunks just sounds a bit more manageable than 42.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want feedback every 3 minutes, 8 seconds. Every 5 minutes, 3 seconds. Like, yeah, that's I feel like it's a good level of feedback, but I don't know.
I think it depends. It depends how you're pacing it, right? Like, if you're saying you want your feedback, but you are also going mostly by heart rate. So if you had your heart rate flashing up every 3 minutes, that'd probably actually get a bit annoying.
That's what I mean.
Whereas if you're just aiming for a pace, then kilometers might be better because you see more of them. So there's true. If you start to go wrong on a mile, like, it's a long time to go wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think it's for me. I grew up running in miles, You know, and I think I still, you know, I still do my when I say I do 16k, I do 16.1k because that's 10 miles. Because I still like 10 miles as a distance. That's like 70 minutes of running. I think that's nice. But yeah, like you said, like for me, what was driving me insane, or where I saw the advantages of Ks was like, right, you've got 0.35 of a mile to go. Like, I don't know how that far it is. I would work in meters and miles. In an ideal world, I think I'd work in meters and miles, but that's just stupid, isn't it? So I switched to Ks. I like Ks, but for this session, I swapped my Garmin back to miles because it's one that it's a session I've done. I think I've done it 3 or 4 times now, and I think it's just nice as a session. And I nearly did the equivalent in Ks, but I just didn't like how it was going to work so much. I did 4x4 mile up a mile steady. So it ends up being 20 miles of running. My alternative was to do 4x6k off 2k float, but I don't know, that was going to be the metric version. But I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go and do exactly the same session I've done before. 2k float just seemed like it was getting a bit long. And a K was going to be too short. I wanted about, you know, a 5 to 6 minutes of floating. I just, yeah. Anyway, decided to go with that.
I mean, especially around this loop as well, where it's basically a mile. Like,
yeah, it's just it's like 1 point. Yeah, it's just 1.1 or something, isn't it? Something like that. And anyway, yeah. So I did 4x4 mile up a mile steady. Jogged 2 mile warm up. Yeah, did that. Did it around the famous mile loop in Butte Park in Cardiff. Weathersportshoes.com, whatever it is. What's it called? The Home Counties 5k. Home Countries 5k podium. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, podium 5k is held. So I did 20 laps of that basically. And I got heckled at the end, but I just you know, paused my Garmin, stopped. They were doing like there's some event going on. They were setting up on the Saturday, and there's loads of workmen around, and there were a few trucks to dodge. And one guy shouts at me, and he goes, Nate, you're stood around like 20 laps by now. And I was like, yeah, exactly 20 laps. And he thought that was hilarious. So yeah. But anyway, how did the session go? I was pretty happy. My last long session, that 35k, I was a bit disappointed with. This definitely went better. Ran 5, I think I averaged about 5:10 a mile for the 4 mile efforts. And then 5:40 a mile for the floats. So that's about 3:12 a k for the ons, and I don't know what that is for the offs. 5:40 a mile is probably like it's about 3:30 a k, isn't it? 3:30 a k for the offs.
Yeah.
So that was the fastest I've run that session. Probably pushed it a bit more than I have previously. I don't know. Heart rates, heart rates were getting definitely up at the end. I made the decision halfway, but I was like, just gonna make it really hard and just push through, because it was starting to bite a bit. And I thought, I actually just want to get today on this day. I'm normally all about control, but on this day, I just wanted to get it. I just wanted to get it done. I managed to be really consistent with the splits. I had a couple of, I think I had one. About half of the second 4 mile started off good, but then it was just the heart rate was starting to rise up a bit. It was starting to feel a bit hard. I ran like a 5:17 mile up for the last one. I thought, this is going downhill here. This could be really bad. But managed to rally, and just like I said, I'll just ignore the heart rates and push through. So actually, yeah, I did end up being really consistent. Like even the last 4 miles, I went, what have I got here? 5:10, 5:09, 5:12, 5:11. That's what's nice about that loop. You can just like get such a consistent rhythm. Like the deviation, like I ran about 5:17 mile, but if you ignore that one, I think my fastest was a 5:08, 5:07, and my slowest was a 5:12. Like it's just easy to get into a rhythm and just lock it in. Average heart rate of 162. My heart rate monitor did go a bit dodgy. a couple of times, but I think the average is probably about right. So average heart rate 162, which isn't too much lower what I'd expect in the first 20 miles of a marathon, but you know, it was all right. It was fine. Not perfect conditions. It was a bit gusty. Didn't drink any water because I didn't have any bottles. Took on loads of gels. So I took a gel every 4 miles. So not each 4 mile rep, like every 4 miles, so 4 miles, 8 miles, 12 miles. And that gave me 118 grams an hour or something of carbohydrate. So managed to tolerate that fine. I mean, it ended up with like 20 miles of running at 5:17 a mile or 3:17 a k. So it's a good solid day. And I think it's the first session like of this block and for quite a long time where it was like, yeah, that was hard. But actually it was funny because I think my durability whatever that means, is in a good place, because even after the last one, I floated, did the mile float at the end. I was like, I'm great now, I could go again. But at the end of each 4 miles, it was really starting to bite. It was really starting to hurt. But I'd do the 4 mile float at 5:40 a mile, and I'd be great. I was like, right, I could go do another one now. I could go. My recovery was really good. And then after the session, I actually felt all right. It was just immediate. It was just the acuteness of it, acutely. And then like the next day, I didn't have any DOMs. Like after about 35k, I think I was just starting to go down with a bit of a cold, but I felt pretty sore the next day. I didn't have that on this, which is like, that was definitely a harder session, running much faster. Heart rate, quite a lot higher, but I was fine. So yeah, that was encouraging. Pretty happy with that. I did wear the Asics for that. I thought, right, I'm probably gonna use them as my race shoe, so I'd like to try and just test them out on a longer effort. But yeah, don't think anything more to say about that session. I was pretty happy with that. You always want it to be a bit better, don't you? Like I said, it is the fastest I've done it, but only by like 1 second a mile or something like that. But yeah, it was good. Like I reckon that's not worth a 2:12, but it's worth a 2:15, 2:14, I think. Comparing across sessions, but 3 weeks to go, and you never know what happens on race day. And like I said, the conditions weren't perfect, and yeah, we'll see. So yeah, that was Friday. Obviously didn't double. I did 2 mile cool downs, but I ended up being a 24 mile, nearly 39k day. Saturday partly just didn't have, like, we went out and did had a bit of, what was I doing? We were at the cross challenge, weren't we? I was supporting the cross challenge. So I ran 10 miles in the morning. Actually felt pretty good, a bit faster than my normal. So 4:16 a k. It's like 6:50 a mile for my 10 miles, 16k run. Then we went up to cross challenge. We had a sport physiology hub tent at the Cardiff cross challenge. You were running. You had a good run.
Yeah, not bad.
Run?
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Getting back to it.
So yeah, we were there all day. And I had Nye giving out leaflets. He decided he wanted to sit on my shoulder. So I was at the end of a cross challenge there. If you were listening, a few people came up and said, you're Dan Nash, you record that podcast, don't you? And I was like, yeah, that's me. So I had Nye on my shoulders and he was handing out leaflets to people, which was quite cute, but people were probably thinking, what the hell is going on here? I don't want a leaflet. I'm knackered. And there's just this guy with a boy on his shoulder shoving something in my face. But yeah, that was good fun, and it's a great event, Matt. I like, nice to see so many people you know, and just the level of athlete there was really good as well. Some very good athletes. So yeah, it was a fun day, and I just went out some food in the evening with Jemima. Got a babysitter in for the first time. So 2.5 years, and we had a babysitter. He's been looked after by family, but we went out for food, and that was nice. I couldn't fit in a double without sacrificing that. And also, like I said, that was my hardest session I've done. I just didn't think that doing another short, easy run in the afternoon was going to add anything. I prefer to recover, not overdo it. So I actually felt pretty good, like I said. Sunday, 30k, 405 a k, so a little bit faster, but nothing crazy. Heart rate down at like 124 average. So yeah, that was pretty solid week. I guess like headline figures: 191k, 118 miles, 13 hours, 13 minutes of running.
Do
2
you
good sessions.
to put you on the spot, do you have your time in like each heart rate zone for the whole week?
I do. I calculated it this time. I got it. I
Yes.
put it down in paper. So in zone 1, so this is a 5-zone model I'm using. Zone 1, 9 hours and 45 minutes. So a lot of jogging. And I think my zone 1, I've put it as, I put it from like 0 to 135 beats per minute. So pretty much every easy run I do, I'm zone 1. Zone 2, 54 minutes. So that's from 135 to 155, with my lactate threshold being about, or LT1 being about 155. So 54 minutes there. Zone 3, so LT1 to LT2, which is 155 to 170 heart rate. That's 2 hours, 25 minutes. So a good chunk of, that might be a PB week, I reckon, for zone 3. I think in a marathon, I normally get in about an hour 40, zone 3-ish from memory. So yeah, I reckon that's a PB week for 2 hours, 25 minutes in zone 3. Because I had, yeah, I said I had an hour and 3 on that minutes in that 12x6 minute session. And then in the, let's have a look here, in that 4x4 mile session, there'd been a lot of time in there. Scrolling through. Yeah, about an hour 25 minutes there. So yeah, I could have just done the 225 minus 63, couldn't I? But never mind. So yeah, 2 hours 25 in zone 3, 10 minutes in zone 4, which was all during that 4x4 mile one. It was low zone 4. Like I think I got up to like, I think I got up to like 174, 175 or something. So yeah, going past LT2, but not a million miles past it, and got 10 minutes of that in that session, and then 0 minutes in zone 5. And my max is heart rate is 190. Saw that in that podium 5k in the summer, where around 1405. So pretty happy that's my max. Highest I've ever seen, or certainly seen in the last like 5 or so years. So yeah, that's a classic week of me, is 0 minutes in zone 5. Normally it's 0 minutes in zone 4 as well, to be honest. But yeah, but yeah, like in terms, I guess 2.5 hours of intensity in there, above LT1. It's a good amount of time. So yeah, good week.
And I guess in terms of the sessions then, so I mean, like we always say, like they are working sort of every like aspect of physiology, but would you sort of divide them as the 6-minute reps are more like threshold, and then the 4x4 miles maybe more towards economy? I mean, the 6 minutes would be some durability as well anyway, wouldn't it? But yeah, if you were trying to break them up at all and say they're targeting different things.
I think definitely both of them are pretty heavy on the threshold stuff. Like you're getting a hell of a lot of minutes at threshold, and that's certainly what I'm thinking about with the 12x6 minutes. But yeah, like the 4x4 miles is threshold, but also trying to push that, being able to keep putting out that pace, that intensity after having already done an hour of running, hour and a half of running. So yeah, more of a durability, whatever that means. Like I said, in about 4x4 mile one. Yeah, but it was only an hour and 45 minutes of running, so you still got another, even best case scenario, I've still got another, what's that, 15, 25, 20, 27 minutes of running to go. But yeah, I mean, it was looking at like the specific marathon intensity, but actually both of them, the heart rates are very similar. The paces aren't even that dissimilar, so they're quite similar. But I think what I came out of that 4x4 mile one was actually I've done a lot of that sort of intensity stuff. I think my durability is pretty good. I think maybe I need to go back and do some faster stuff. I've done a lot of running at basically 308 to 320 a k. Not an awful lot of stuff faster than that. So I think I need a little bit more of that. So in this next week coming, I'm going to do a bit of stuff, down to 3 minutes a k and maybe a little bit faster. I think that might just, I think my, like I said, I think my durability is pretty good. I think I could do my threshold being a little bit better, and hopefully, I've got 3 sessions left really. In my head, I've got 3 sessions left, 2 next week, or 2, this week we're recording, and 1 the following week, and that's like, obviously I'll still do another 2 more sessions, but they're going to be more like, they're going to be properly into the taper by then. I think it's 3 more sessions where I can really move stuff on. And I think definitely these next 2 ones. So yeah, the Tuesday, Friday, trying to still do a good volume, but just get down to some sub 3 minute Ks, I think, and some pace down there, and hopefully that will, combined with freshening up a bit, sort of just push that LT2 a little bit. I just think I need a bit more of an intensity stimulus. I've done so much threshold stuff, and I'm going really well. I'm happy with my shape, but you always want a little bit more, don't you? And I feel like that's the bit I've not done as much. And it's always a balancing act, isn't it? Like, it's always a balancing act, regardless of what you're training for. It's like how much endurance, how much specific stuff, how much like overspeed stuff. And I think most people do too much of the overspeed stuff.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of big threshold sessions and feel like, I just need a little bit more intensity. But
which you could still achieve through a threshold session, right? Like you could still do like 400s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much my plan. Like, still, yeah. Only it's just shifting the emphasis slightly. I don't think I've got anything drastically wrong. I just think, but yeah, I want to do a few, like you said, like 400 meters or 75-second reps where I'm getting down to, maybe 250 a k pace, like 68s or something like that. So not in that fast. Like, we're not talking about not even 5k pace. Just touching a bit faster. 10k
and it'll be a ton of work. Like, it's not going to be like you're not saying you're going to do 10 by 400. Like,
no. I'm thinking provisionally. This is what I'm
40 by
thinking for tomorrow or Tuesday morning. You'll see by the time this is released, I'll probably be doing. I'm just about to do a session, so I think I'm going to do 5 times 6 minutes, 8 times 3 minutes, 10 times 75 seconds. So it's still like over an hour's worth of running, but I'm hoping that run the 6 minutes at like about 19.1k an hour again, so about marathon pace, because I've got a couple more shoe comparisons I'm going to fit in. Spoiler, which we're doing, we talk about next week, and then run the 3 minutes at like maybe like 3 minute k pace, and then hopefully push on for the 75 seconds. But we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know next week. Or you can look at my Strava tomorrow morning. All right. This might, by the time this goes out, I'll probably, like I said, probably be done. But yeah.
I reckon we got time for one question. This comes from Henry. Henry sent a bunch of questions in. So he
Henry
said,
Evans,
hi.
is it?
No, it's not. It could be.
It could.
Henry didn't leave his last name, so just any Henry that listens, thank you for sending this in. So he says, hi, Dan mentioned iron on the heat training podcast. Does Dan take any supplements or follow any golden rules for his diet to support endurance training? And he says this is outside of a biscuit before long run.
Nice. Yeah.
So obviously, biscuit before long run. It's number one.
That's
Nice bowl of porridge, number 2.
Yeah. So the supplements I take, it's a long list. I don't take any supplements. I use the closest thing I get to a supplement is the SIS beta fuel gels and some bicarb, which is a new addition. I guess the other thing I was going to say is I was going to take the bicarb before the 4x4 mile session, because I thought that'd be an ideal one to practice it in. But got halfway to Cardiff and realised I hadn't taken the bicarb, so ruined that one. But I'm going to try and practice it this week. But yeah, I don't take any supplements. I try and eat a balanced diet, obviously loads of carbs. And I think that's the thing I'm most conscious about is trying to have obviously a carbohydrate with every meal, but more like around the big sessions, making sure I'm right fueled going into that. And how do I go about that? Well, I would say that I try to have a normal mixed diet of like for the main meals, but I'm also not afraid to go pretty hard on the dessert and pudding afterwards to up the carb intake. Like, so I'm definitely having like I'm having way more than 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. So I feel I'm getting all my micronutrients in there. I'm not vegetarian, so I'm eating meat. Trying not to eat not eating like meat every day probably, but getting protein sources in there. And if we're not having, I am thinking about like every portion, every like meal. I'm going right. What's the protein source in that? Like a porridge, like I've got obviously milk and peanut butter, and then like lunch, whatever that is, there'll be some sort of protein source if it's meat or beans or whatever, and then dinner like the same. But I just don't think there's any need for supplements. There's not enough convincing evidence out there for me on anything to go, yeah, you need to be taking that. I mean, vitamin D maybe, but I'm outside a lot. And I know there's an argument in the winter and all this and that, but you're not going to get enough in the northern hemisphere. But I really can't see it making much of a difference. I'm getting maybe I'll take, if I'm feeling a bit run down, maybe I'll take a vitamin C tablet, but that's about it. But again, I think I'm getting it from my diet. What do you reckon? That's my approach.
Yeah, I mean, like
me.
the food. No, the food that I see you eating is like it's all really colourful. Like it's got lots of veg and stuff in. So like you don't have like a beige diet. So
no, I do think I think we eat pretty well without being obsessive. I'm definitely like there's always I wouldn't have a meal without like 2 portions of fruit and veg in it. Yeah, and I don't know. It's one of those ones where you go right. You could be anemic and not know it, but I just don't think. And I don't have any blood screening. I think that'd be an interesting to do, regularly, but it's so expensive. And there's no justification for it because you can Jemima's a GP and there's what you shouldn't do is just go and screen everything because the chances are you'll find something, but is it actually an issue? Probably not. If you've got no symptoms of iron deficiency or vitamin D deficiency or whatever, then just going around screening something is probably not a good idea because you're going to find things which may appear low but actually aren't causing you an issue.
I mean, it's interesting when you listen to Inside Running podcast and they're always getting screened for iron, and then quite a lot of the time they end up having an infusion. So you could argue, they do need it, and based on the iron levels in their tests and their sort of perception of it, obviously there's placebo effect, but it seems to benefit them. But yeah, I guess it's a combination of you don't want to just go fishing for something might be wrong, but then also there's the other element of in the UK the only way to get it is to go private. You're not gonna get an iron test because you say that your long run's been feeling a bit hard.
No.
On the NHS, unfortunately, maybe you should be able to get that.
If your GP is a runner, then they're feeling generous with mine. But
yeah.
But I guess I just from doing being involved in studies and stuff like that, my hematocrit's always been normal. My hemoglobin concentration's always been normal. My hemoglobin mass when we've done that is what you would expect. It's pretty stable. And my diet hasn't changed. I think it's different if you're a female. You need to pay more attention to your iron intake. But I'm eating so many foods that are rich in iron, like vegetables. We eat beef probably once a week, which has got pretty good content of iron in. Like green leafy vegetables, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so if this podcast wouldn't be pushing like any dodgy supplement anytime soon, even if they approached us. So yeah, I like to think we've got integrity, and I wouldn't promote anything I wouldn't take or yeah. But
What's the line?
it's like going back to that supplement podcast we did, wasn't it? Or like what works, like caffeine, like carbohydrates, bicarb, nitrates maybe. Why would you take anything else? Someone asked me if I took creatine the other day, and I was like, yeah, if you're a speed power athlete, maybe take creatine. But if you're an endurance athlete, I can't see the mechanism of how it would help. It comes with a load of water retention as well. So it's extra weight. Don't necessarily want that. Yeah. And again, like the amount of protein. The other thing is like the amount of calories I'm eating. If you think about protein intake, which is what people go off often supplement, isn't it? They go protein intake like whey and whatever amino acids. The amount of calories that I'm consuming, even just with a normal mixed diet, I'm getting in loads of protein just because of the amount of energy I'm eating, the amount of calories I'm eating. I'm probably, I'm burning from metabolic cart data, I burn about 100 calories a mile. At the minute, I'm averaging like, what's that? 15 plus miles a day, like plus, so that's 1,500 calories in running, plus the your basic metabolic rate, which for me is probably about 2,000 calories. So I'm burning about 3,500 calories a day. My weight's stable, so I must be replacing that. If you're eating 3,500 calories a day, regardless of what, as long as you're not eating like complete junk, you're going to get a lot of protein in. You're going to get a lot of micronutrients in, just because of the amount of food you're eating. And just because you're doing exercising more doesn't necessarily mean your micronutrients goes up loads. And you probably do need a little bit more protein than the average person as an endurance athlete, but you don't need to be. You're not trying to have hypertrophy or anything like that. It's not a crazy amount of protein you need. So that's my outlook anyway.
So yeah, back to Amy's question, no supplements.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was quite a long drawn out answer, but yeah, just trying to.
Oh no, sorry, it was supplements or like golden rules, and yeah, like you said, just meeting your energy needs, which like is sort of I guess a basic need of an endurance athlete, isn't it? Like if you're not meeting your energy needs, you're gonna not at best not meet your sort of performance ceiling or performance potential, but at worst you're gonna be injured or be ill all the time.
Well, I think that is definitely like golden rules. Like, I think you could break it down to two. And first one is definitely like meet your energy, fuel for the work required, meet your energy demands, because there's so many athletes there who never reach their potential because they've underfueled chronically, ended up with stress fractures or overtraining and all this sort of stuff. And you might be a bit lighter, be kilo lighter for a little bit and run a bit faster, but then like long term you can't do the training, so you're going to be injured. You have time out. That's not how you get fast, because endurance sports you need to do it for years and years and years to get as good as you can be. Like I'm PBing now. I'm 30. I've been training properly, I'd say, since I was 16. And if I can only do that by fueling consistently for 14 years, and I'm still getting faster. So I think that, getting, sacrificing the long-term training by not fueling enough is not how you're going to get the fastest you're going to be. So that's golden rule 1. And the golden rule 2 is actually just, I think, having a well-balanced diet where you are getting in, just doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to be obsessed about it, but just having fruit, veg, good quality stuff, but not being obsessed with it. Don't go like, oh, I'm clean eating and not eat chocolate or biscuits or whatever. As long as you don't want your diet to be based around that, but just don't get obsessed with it. Loads of fruit and veg, loads of good quality carbohydrates, pasta, rice, potatoes, like all that sort of stuff. Good source of protein. Don't overcomplicate it, just eat normally. But I guess that's, what does normal mean? I don't know. I do think people obsess more about diet, and I think people give it more credit than it's worth. Obviously, you need to fuel properly, but you can't get fit by eating alone. It's the training that does that, and you just need to make sure that you're giving your body the stuff it needs to adapt to that. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it. I'm not a nutritionist, so don't listen to my advice. But yeah.
We'll get a nutritionist on at some point.
Yeah, I know some good nutritionists, but I do think it makes a massive difference if you're not doing it well. Like if you're not fueling properly, if you're under fueling, or you're just eating completely the wrong stuff. If you're going low carb, like you're not going to run to your potential. Sorry, Tim Noakes. But you just, as long as you're doing it, as long as you're getting the basics right, you're going to get 99% of the way there without doing any supplementations, doing any like crazy strategies. I do think about nutrition. I definitely just try and pay attention to the fueling before big sessions, before races, and like obviously I've been practicing the fueling for the marathon loads. So nutrition makes a difference, but it's not that complicated.
Yeah,
it's my take. Yeah.
See what people think of that.
Yes, yeah. I'd be welcome to feedback on that, because I'm definitely going out the sphere of my expertise. But yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, reckon that's a good place to. No, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah, because we have one more question, and we'll be speaking for another 10 minutes, won't we? So yeah.
We'll save the questions. We'll just probably do a whole episode on them. But
yeah,
no, good week. Yeah, good solid week. Comes at the right time, doesn't it?
Yeah, good week. Feel like I'm as good shape as I've ever been. Still wish I was in a bit better shape. Like I said, I don't reckon I'm in quite 212 shape yet, but we'll see. We'll see if a marathon happens. We'll see what the next 3 weeks bring. Still a bit of time. Yeah. Positive, feeling good, feeling fit, not feeling overtrained, feeling like hopefully can still push on a little bit, but I'd just like to be able to race now. In terms of, I just hope it goes ahead, and if it doesn't, well, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, hopefully positive news. All right,
fingers crossed. Yeah, and we'll leave it there for now. So we'll see everyone next time.
Yeah, cheers, Owain.
Catch you later.